All right, welcome to Meade in the Middle, our third episode. I want to introduce my co-hosts. We've got a self-proclaimed vegan, father, and investor. He hates ice in his drinks in Mexico, Mr. Ben Rice.
Hello, hello.
And we've got husband and father of 16 girls and one oddly tall son. He hates butter knives and Bon Jovi. Communist pharmacist and comedian Shane Draminsky.
What's going on?
Communist. I love it.
16 girls.
And I'm your host, Michael Meade, the only Trump supporter in the room. Let's start today with conspiracies that came true. What do you guys think about sunscreen? It's been on the news a lot lately about sunscreen. What are your thoughts? You're the closest to a doctor.
Sunscreen is good for you. I know you're going to show me something that, oh, look at this. Dr. Oz said sunscreen is bad for you, but sunscreen is good for you. You will get skin cancer if you're constantly out in the sun. You should look on sunscreen. We get, as a pharmacist, I get asked a lot of questions, especially in a retail setting, like, what is the best bug spray and what is the best sunscreen? Well, if you look at the back of sunscreen and you see that it has oxybenzone in it, it will protect against UVA and UVB light. So I always recommend those. But sunscreen is good for you, especially a place like this if you're out in the desert. My wife is super pale and Irish, so she lives on sunscreen.
I thought sunscreen was great too. I slather up my kids in it. I always had it on growing up on the Jersey Shore. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I use it. I'm super pale.
Yeah.
I don't tan. I just burn and peel, right? So I have to go to the dermatologist and do like a full body inspection every single year. And I buy stuff from them. It's like not a penetrating one. It's like one that sits on top, like a zinc, I think is it a zinc? But it's like a zinc one that actually rubs in pretty well and doesn't like make you look like, like you're wearing white makeup or whatever. But look, I don't know anything about sunscreen. I just use it because I'm told that, I'm going to die.
Otherwise, you're going to die. Yeah. Sunscreen. And this is why we're going to do conspiracies that came true. Because I did a little research on sunscreen, and sunscreen became commercially available in the 1940s. And since the 1940s to current, melanoma incidences in the U.S. has increased tenfold. And in fact, it's getting worse. So you get a 3x increase over the last 2 decades. So is that maybe the ozone layer, the sun's letting off more energy, or maybe it's part of our diet? So I was like, well, let's dig in a little deeper.
You think that might have anything to do with diagnosis of melanoma?
Right? Yeah, it might.
Access to diagnostic testing and things like that.
Also, as people live longer, there's higher incidence of things, right? Like, so, if you are all of a sudden not dying from like a tooth infection, you live long enough to get skin cancer.
Agreed.
There's an increase in all cancers because we're living long enough. Eventually, you're going to get some kind of cancer.
And that's what I was hoping for.
Yeah.
But then I dug deeper. And oddly enough, there's no studies of whether or not, zero, that I could find of does sunscreen increase the likelihood of cancer. But the FDA in 2021 did a review of all the ingredients. And out of 16 ingredients typically found in sunscreen, only 2 were deemed and recognized safe and effective. That's your zinc oxide and titanium dioxide. Everything else is not safe for you, and it actually gets absorbed into your body. We've been doing it since the 1940s, and no one's freaking even tested it to say, hey, is this stuff good for us? They're lathering up the kids. So then I looked into studies with those other ingredients. And it looks like, based on a lot of data on different sources, about 88 to 90% of the sunscreen on the market right now is deemed unsafe, which is really scary considering my kids are super pale too. At least 2 of them are. And I was lathering them up as of last year.
Yeah, that's a huge number. And
it's huge.
You use like the drugstore variety. Or you were.
Yeah, this is like Banana Boat and all the top brands.
Yep.
I'm like, oh, this one's better, right? And you buy the more expensive one, and it says, whatever, 50%, 75% protection. And some of the lab studies have shown in some of these other ingredients that in rats, it promotes breast cancer, which is a cancer. It disrupts hormones in animals affecting thyroid, hormone regulation, high toxicity. with ingredients, with people that use it over and over. Aerosol sunscreens are extremely dangerous when they consolidate in the lungs. Benzene, is that what you just mentioned?
Oxybenzone is one of the active
Okay,
ingredients in it.
This is benzene, so I don't know if it's the same.
Yeah, but this is the thing, is like
Yeah.
you're reading this, and depending upon where your sources are and where you're looking
Yeah.
at stuff,
This is the FDA.
there's you have to if you look at a product and you say, okay, this is all the potential side effects of said product. It matters like whether whether there's systemic absorption of that, whether you're putting it on topically, what you were just talking about. Yes, obviously, if you spray aerosolized sunscreen into your mouth and in your lungs, then you're going to have some negative side effects of it. And this is the other thing, is it's just, they always say in science that correlation does not prove causality, and that's really what it is. You can look at any of these products at one ingredient and you could have a list of side effects, but it's not necessarily going to cause any of those things.
And also, like, super high doses in
Yeah.
a rodent and the effects of that
Are they
don't
shaving these rats
necessarily
and putting them on there? What
Well,
are they
yeah, I mean,
exposing
it
them to
doesn't
them?
necessarily correlate to those things potentially happening in humans too. But still, the idea that somehow we know more about how these chemicals affect reefs than we do how they affect
Yeah.
humans
Yeah.
is kind of wild, because it's been like the last 2 decades they've been studying how these sunscreens affect reef and reef life, but we have not been doing studies on what they do to humans over a long period of time, which is wild to me.
Only studies that I could find is like, does it work? Does it reflect UV rays? And like the last one, just to finish my thought, was on the benzene. It causes leukemia and blood cancers, which I had leukemia.
Did you eat a lot of sunscreen as a
I
kid?
did. But if the FDA is telling us that, like, hey, out of the 18 ingredients, 16 are like not effective and actually harmful for you, and 88 to 90% of the sunscreen on the market is not really safe, we have to like inform ourselves and start looking at, okay, well, what is the other 20% or 10%, 12% that's safe for us, and what's in those? So that's what I did this summer. Is like, I was like, okay, well, dude, that's crazy. So let me see what is safe. Basically, mineral based, using zinc oxide and titanium dioxide are the only ingredients that are safe, and they also reflect UV rays, and it's not absorbed into the body. Those two ingredients. I like beef tallow, and I know like everybody's like, beef tallow is bad for your skin. It causes breakouts. It doesn't. Like, it doesn't clog your pores. But I bought this brand, Sky and Soul, as an SPF of 50. And like beef tallow is like good for your skin. I don't know if you've tried beef tallow. As I'm getting older, I like use it on my face at night.
Mhm.
I like got rid of my lines and my face feels better. And like acne actually went away, because I get a lot of acne from wrestling. It's just really expensive. But yeah, sunscreen. Like the fact that cancer rates have increased tenfold, and 16 of the 18 ingredients cause cancer, have cancerous ingredients in them that are being absorbed in your body. I can add, man. I can add 1 + 1 = 2, and it's like they had something to do with it. And the fact that no one's running studies is kind of bizarre.
It's just I would love to take a look at this deeper, because there's a laundry list of delivery vehicles and everything except for the active ingredient in any drug.
Mhm.
There's a list of excipients and delivery vehicles that are safe to be used topically. And that list includes things that would not be allowed to be used in any pill formulations of the product. So you really have to question like what they're looking at. So if you're just reading like an article from a website that wants to skew in one direction or another, they can be like, "All these ingredients cause this." Yes, when they're administered orally at certain doses, they cause this or have been known to cause this, and what's being used in that systemically. And it's crazy for me, Mike, that you want to look at the FDA right now and say, "Oh, the FDA said this is
Well, because
bad
I know
for
you
you."
like the FDA. That's the only reason. But like,
But you're not supposed to like the FDA, right?
Well, the FDA likes vaccines.
yeah, I don't like the FDA. But but the fact that
But for this one on the sunscreen thing, you're like in full support of.
well, the fact that they actually came out and said something, because they seem to be wrong so often. And maybe they're wrong on this, but then you look at the actual ingredients through other studies, and they do cause cancer. And you're getting cancer-causing ingredients that absorb into your body. You're lathering on your body, and you're having the sun bake it into your body, into your skin, under your little 2-year-old. And you're telling me, I don't know, I have to see more. Like, I'm not using that shit, man. I'm just like, I'm done.
Well, we have options.
And we have options, which is great because, like, I don't know if, like, we'd had options 10 years ago, 20 years ago. But it's a conspiracy. There's a bunch of people I remember 20 years ago that don't use sunscreen. Just go natural. I'm like, these people are insane. They're all going to have skin cancer, right? And they were right.
And
My crazy uncle was right again.
I'm not 100% sure about this either, but wasn't there titanium dioxide? Weren't they complaining about that in talcum powder?
Yep.
Or like, yeah. So the one ingredient that is safe to be used as a sunscreen shouldn't be in talcum powder because of absorption into the lungs, or microparticles of it getting into the lungs. So you really have to question, okay, this one's safe to use topically, but then some of the other things are probably because.
This is why I don't trust the FDA.
Okay.
So that's the conspiracy theory that came true. Well, let's dive into our topic of today. It's pretty depressing. And the more I dig into it, it's like the greatest threat facing humanity is the development of AI. And I know you guys feel differently, and a lot of people do. But I think it's greater than like wars in the Middle East, immigration, value of the dollar, and Epstein lists releases, and ineffective and corrupt government, and the FDA. Yeah, so most people they're now getting some experience with what AI is. They're using it in ChatGPT and some other apps, and it's like super useful, right? But most don't really understand what AI is, right? It's artificial intelligence, so it learns on its own, and it understands languages, and already AI has obtained super intelligence and is exceeding humans' capability on several areas. And they're trying really hard to ramp it up to do even more. And that's when AGI becomes self-aware. It can process the processing speed and memory. Its memory, like yesterday, I don't remember what the hell I did yesterday. Like maybe 5 instances of who I spoke to. But if you want me to recount exactly what someone said to me yesterday in a grocery store, and how much time I was there, and what I purchased, and how much was it, and how much gas was in my car, and what time did I leave, and like, I don't know. AI remembers everything. Their memory is spot on. They also analyze all that data set way better than humans already. They're superhuman intelligence. They predict patterns already from that data. That group of the best experts will be like, wow, I didn't see that. These are stockbrokers and people like with intelligence to predict different conditions. I'm using it instead of Google now, because you're using Google and you got to like read through 50 articles, and then it's like, what information is Google deciding to share with you? And
It knows what you want much quicker.
and it just gets right to it. It's detecting cancers better than radiologists in several studies already.
Yeah, the breast cancer thing is really incredible.
It's really, I mean, so these are all like there's a lot of helpful stuff there, but you've got to, I think what I've come to a realization is this isn't like, oh, wow, the invention of television. There's people that are like, TV is evil and it's going to rot your brain and like you suck your soul, and like that all went through. Like radio is bad, rock music's bad. The TV is not going to take my job and try to kill me one day. And like, as crazy as that sounds, the experts who like own these companies are predicting up to 30% chance that this AI will wipe out humanity. And I know it sounds crazy, but we're
The original conspiracy nut.
and
right
we'll
there.
get into it. And the first thing I want to get into is like the best case scenario that I see for AI. And I know you guys are on the opposite side with this, and this is the replacement of jobs.
My belief is that all repetitive human work that doesn't require the deep emotional connection between two people, that will all be done in the next couple of decades, better, cheaper, faster by AI. And that is somehow left out of the conversation. It's always about factory robots and self-driving cars. But what they don't talk about is all of the white-collar work that AI is going to do.
So everybody's like, well, I don't know. Is AI really everybody's just living their life. Even me. I get up and I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? I get to work. I do my normal emails. I go to meetings. I meet with people. Kids are in college right now, studying for careers that aren't going to, I believe, be there when they graduate. And this shit's going to happen quickly. And there's some timetables that I'll go through that are like scary, scary fast. Like if I lose my job tomorrow, I mean, I own the company, but my company shuts down, right? Let's say I lose my job tomorrow, and then the next day my wife loses her job, and like, fuck, man, there's no jobs. My kids get out of college, and there's no jobs for them, and we're just looking at each other, and it turns into like, okay, well now the government's going to have to support everybody, and everybody's on universal income. It's universal welfare. There'll be a gap greater than we've ever seen in wealth, because the people that own these AI companies and own the means of production will control the world, and there'll be no need for humans, for laborers, or all this other stuff. And I was like, well, maybe that's 20 years down the road, or 50, or like decades down the road. But today, there's tons of industries already being impacted.
Well, you already see this happening with coders, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, so I use Claude Code quite a bit for some of the things that I've been working on, and it's incredible how fast it codes things. And what I've been reading recently is about how it's going to reduce the amount of low-level coding positions available. And then the coding jobs that are going to be left, there's going to be coding jobs that are just paid like normal coding jobs are right now. But you already see places like Meta paying people $200 million packages, like they're LeBron James, to come over and spend 4 or 5 years working on the AI product. So you're already starting to see this shift where within industries that AI is affecting, it's already creating this like huge gap between haves and have-nots.
And it's massive, because it's going to restructure our entire society. And like, my son wants to be a coder. He wants to create his own games. He's going to learn how to code. And the fact that tech giants right now and politicians are standing up and saying, we don't need any coders, we need electricians. I don't fucking need electricians either, homie. You think I'm going to hire on a construction company? I'm going to hire an electrician if I have a robot that works 24/7, never gets tired, and I pay for it once and some maintenance, and it does it perfect, and it doesn't sue me. There's no overtime. Works 24/7. They're lying to us. Already they're lying to us. And my son's going to learn to code because someone's got to understand what the hell's going on. And he's going to be super valuable if no one's becoming coders and he's a coder. Right? It doesn't mean he has to sit there and write all the code. He can use AI to create the code, but he's got to know what's going on. Right? And I look at just different industries that are being impacted right now. Paralegals, my brother owns a law firm. They're like not using paralegals anymore. Like they're letting people go because AI can draft contracts, review massive amounts of diligence and lawsuits, compile it and give you reports on it like instantly. They can look up laws and like strategy for the courtroom. They don't need a paralegal. So paralegals are like gone. Journalists are being replaced at some of the top publications, because AI can generate articles in the newsroom, sports coverage, local updates quicker and better than any human.
Data scientists too.
Transcription, right? Clinical visits. Tech giants are replacing robotics and all this other stuff. So there's all these different industries that are getting hit right now, and everybody's talking about, like, this is going to be Uber drivers and some coders. I'm like, fuck, dude, it's right now the amount of billions of dollars going into research and development for not only AI, but robotics. And AI is helping the robotic industry advance like 30 years in 2 months. So it's like they're leaping to the point where there will be no jobs in a very, very short period. And if we look at timeframes, widespread job replacement by AI, that's widespread, according to leading experts and available data that I found. It's 2 to 5 years. 2 to 5 years where like every industry in some capacity will have disruption. Major disruption by 2030. And it's not just jobs. It's a means of production. It's a means of contribution, et cetera, et cetera. And I know that you guys feel like, well,
I just think you're being really chicken little about the whole thing. The first part of what you said is like, television isn't going to take my job.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're in the class of people, and we're in the age group that is very fearful of this. Just like when television came out, the people that were saying that it did take jobs. It took a bunch of jobs from radio people. I mean, there was
Yeah.
probably you'd have to take a look and see, but the industry itself, like radio, probably employed way more people in the time before television was mainstream. And the same thing with computers. And you look now, like, think about print journalism. How has the internet and everyone getting their news from the internet changed the amount of people that are involved in print journalism or newspapers? Those kind of things. I mean, there's really a lot of change that happened. And
But
I think we're just worried about the unknown.
But if it can replace humans and we allow it to, as without regulation, which there is no regulation at all, and so if they're self-regulating and everybody's looking for that stock bump, and really they're not even looking for money at this point. These tech giants, the Sam Altons of the world and Elon Musk, they don't care about money. They care about power. Like literally, like they're going to be like gods on this planet. And in their mind, they already are. And they're going to completely transform our society very, very quickly. And I think everyone needs to wake up and be aware that this is going to happen, dude. This isn't like me being paranoid. It's already happening. And if you say, you're just being silly, when TV came out, there was still an increase in the labor pool. Like more and more jobs kept getting created in America. It just transitioned from one industry to the other. This is a wipeout across the board equally. I won't one day when like a robot that's human-like is my doctor, I will never have a human doctor because I was like, dude, I don't want the wrong diagnosis. I want the right one right away. And this guy is 99.99% compared to 6. So I'll go over here to this doctor, and plus he's 20% cheaper or whatever, right? And insurance companies will be making you go to these AI doctors, right? And like maybe the very, very wealthy will have that like human experience who's got AI connected to them. But like, this isn't a shift. This is basically
It's a seismic shift.
it's seismic where I believe there's going to be mass unemployment, and it may take longer than 2 to 5 years. Maybe it's 10, 15 years. Guys, that's like that. That's like your kids coming out of college, man. It's like, cool, they don't have any jobs. There's no jobs for them. And how are they supposed to progress up this ladder, right? And maybe you guys think that the government will give us all this beautiful utopian life and everything will be great. But if you look at how humans treated each other over the beginning of time to now, it's not going to happen.
No, I mean,
It's not going to happen, dude. I'm just telling you right now.
if it does
It's going to be
happen,
pretty bleak.
if it does happen, there'll be a collapse and then a restructuring. I mean, it never transitions from functioning to functioning. It transitions from functioning to dysfunctional, back to functioning somehow.
And that would be my hope, that like we get our asses kicked as a civilization, and we're like, wait a minute, like what the fuck did we just do? And like the people would have to revolt, and we'd have to say, now we need, like, if you want to have AI, you put them in this fucking box over here, and they can only take this percentage of the jobs, and we want to work, and we want to control our own destiny, and we want to decide what we spend our money on and where we live and what we eat. All these things they've been pushing on us. And as I woke up from COVID and I started saying, what the hell's going on in the world? It's like, holy shit, there's a big group of people that are very powerful. That want to control what we eat, how much energy I get to use, right? Eventually, they'll say no more kids. It's an easy way to cut the population.
But you have to be vegan.
They don't want 90% of the people in the world unemployed with nothing to do.
Oh, no.
Dude, it'll turn like we got to like kill most of them, which is like what they're talking about, depopulation, or we have to massively control them. This is the best case scenario, by the way.
No, I mean,
I've
come
got
on.
2 more. I
Get
got
outta
2
here.
more.
No, look,
This is the best case.
we can catastrophize all we want, but the reality is that right now, and this is moving quickly, but right now, a human experiences more inputs of data by the time they turn 4 than even the most advanced AI systems can contain, right? And a big part of that is because we all have sensory inputs, vision, all of these things. These LLMs don't have that. I mean, they're working on it. And honestly, like right now, like if you want to make a $1 trillion company right now, like if that's what I was trying to do, I would be focused on computer vision, because I think the person who comes up with the most efficient computer vision algorithms right now that can tie them to LLMs is going to be huge, because the more that they can start to intake on their own, the more powerful the systems will be. We're still like a really long ways away from that, though. I just
I mean, you've seen like the technology that's already been developed where computers can see in UV, they can see in different wavelengths, so they can see through walls and analyze an entire room. Like you haven't seen that technology that's already out where
Oh, dude, I've
they're
seen it.
inputting that data now into AI.
Yeah, no,
And you're
look, I've
right.
seen it.
AI is working off this data set. So they put this huge data set, the whole internet, right? And they put some safety guidelines around it. And they add this code and AI program to it, and it self-learns and it goes through it and you can just do everything. And it uses a massive amounts of energy, right? This is why, like, I think it was Google that bought a nuclear plant, like a decommissioned nuclear, because they need more power. What's going to change is quantum computing. That's
Google also just invested a bunch of money into a fusion company, a fusion startup. So because
they need
they
power.
will be the first
Yeah.
user of the fusion power when it's online.
I think this becomes cognitive and AGI when they match AI with quantum computing, because quantum computing is unlimited.
And you think that's the beginning of the end when
That is the end. And that is according to like all.
I have
that's
more
the-
concern about the people who run it. I'm more worried about the Elon Musks
That's
of
my
the
part
world.
too.